Though sparingly, I have exercised the authority to veto legislation. To proponents of a bill, the governor's veto may be mischaracterized as ill-informed or political. It is likely that my action today will be met with similar charges from supporters of Senate Bill 6. However, there is only one person who can accurately state the reason for the veto, the one who holds the pen. So let me be clear. I veto Senate Bill 6 because this bill is contrary to my firmly held principle to act in the best interest of the people of Florida. I am confident that my decision today is the right one because I know it is the right thing to do for the people of Florida. After reviewing the legislation, I have identified several issues of concern. First and foremost, this bill does not appropriately accommodate special education students and their dedicated teachers. These children can and do learn. However, there must be more consideration given to their individual needs than is afforded in this bill. Further, the bill does encroach on local decision-making. At worst, it could result in an infringement upon the constitutional authority of local school boards. While the bill allows school boards to create district policies, there are considerable directives given to local boards and a requirement for state sign-off before the plans can even be approved. Some of these directives are quite overreaching, such as not allowing multi-year teacher contracts, choosing arbitrary percentages for calculating a teacher's effectiveness, and permanently decertifying an excellent teacher in Florida who simply needed improvement 2 out of their last 5 years. Senate Bill 6 places teachers in jeopardy of losing their jobs and their teaching certificates without a clear understanding of how gains will be measured and without taking into account circumstances beyond the teacher's control. Teachers have an incredible impact on the lives of their students, but they are not the only influence. During the House debate and after the final passage of the bill, even supporters of Senate Bill 6 acknowledged the imperfections of this bill. They were satisfied with the ability to come back next year for a glitch bill or make corrections and clarifications in the implementing process. Such assertions are not enough for me to sign this legislation today. Finally, I veto this bill because of the process by which it was passed. This legislation sped through committees without meaningful input of parents, teachers, students, superintendents, and school boards. It was troubling to learn that the bill would not be amended after it passed in the Senate, particularly when more and more concerns were coming to light. As I articulated on the opening day of the 2010 session, it is not only the substance of those issues that is important. It is also the attitude with which you address them. These will determine whether you have done your job well. The incredible outpouring of opposition by teachers, parents, students, superintendents, school boards, and legislators has greatly influenced my decision today. They brought to light many concerns that were not addressed in the amendatory process. As with any major legislation, sometimes stated goals do not match the words of the bill. That is why, under normal circumstances, bills can be meaningfully debated and changed so that the flaws might be remedied. In summary, I find the content of Senate Bill 6 and the manner of its adoption significantly flawed. Nevertheless, I believe in the stated goals of establishing differential and performance-based merit pay for our classroom teachers, developing workable measures of student learning gains, and preparing students for their place in the global economy. These are worthy of future pursuit in a collaborative setting with participation of those who are directly impacted. To those who may ask for a prescribed fix for Senate Bill 6, I say we must start over. This bill has deeply and negatively affected the morale of our teachers, our parents, and our students. They are not confident in our system because they do not believe that their voices were heard. They, like I, did not fathom that there would be no opportunity for meaningful deliberation and appropriate changes to this bill. Tens of thousands of Floridians have reached out to me asking for a veto of this bill, and instead address the important goal of improving education in a more deliberative and open manner. Should the legislature decide to go back to the drawing board, I believe it is critical that they heed the call of our fellow Floridians. To make such landmark changes, we must have the patience and the wisdom to communicate effectively with the people. As governor, it is my responsibility to work ardently to position Florida for success on our road to race to the top. Although Floridians' first application was strong, we learned a very important lesson in that process: the value of stakeholder participation. Like every good competitor, we will make strategic changes and raise our game. In the coming days, I will announce a creation of a collaborative work group to thoroughly review and vet our application and suggest improvements to help us win. Florida has made tremendous gains in our education system. We cannot and we must not stop. As we move forward, let us ensure that we fulfill our highest calling, which is to honor the people for whom government is established. The education of our children is far too important for us to do otherwise. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Yes?
Governor, there are going to be some critics who are going to immediately say this is politically motivated. It has to do with your desire to become a United States Senator. What is your response?
Has nothing to do with politics at all. Has everything to do with the children of Florida. I know in my heart it's the right thing to do, Michael. This thing was rushed through. Quite frankly, it reminds me of what happened with the health care bill in Washington, where members of my party criticized the Democrats for sort of jamming something down their throat. And then here, about a month later, after that happens, the very same thing happens here in education. So it's the wrong process. It had laudable goals. It can be done right, and we have a duty to make sure it is done right.
Early on, you spoke about a constituent who has a special needs child. The question is, when did you make the decision to veto the bill, and what was the turning point in your mind?
Made the decision late last night. The turning point was a accumulation of input from the people that we serve. But frankly, it did start with that call. And I think I shared with you that call came to me over Easter weekend from a friend of mine in St. Petersburg that I grew up with who has a severely handicapped son. And, it touched my heart, frankly. His son's teacher came to him and was crying about how she might be evaluated. Hopeful that his son would progress during the course of the year, but not sure that could occur. And, he was concerned about the fundamental fairness or lack thereof as it related to that teacher.
Last question, Governor. Have you spoken, before this announcement here, have you spoken with Senator Brasher, former Governor Bush, Mark Wilson, any of the people who are pushing for this time of legislation?
I spoke to or heard from anybody who wanted to.
No, I'm talking about before you made this announcement. After your decision, before you made this announcement, have you talked to anyone, any pro-six people?
After I've made the decision,
After you made the decision last night, before you made this announcement today?
I've talked to a lot of people since then. Thank you very much.